Summary. Another slug cat arrives. Quicker, stronger, and more agile than any average slug cat. Could this mysterious stranger be a new friend, or perhaps something more? Notes at the end of the chapter. Chapter 2. Hunting. Hunter considered himself to be agile, quick, and smart. The green lizard from him, hissing and snarling, was clumsy, slow, and stupid. The reason for the lizard's anger, Hunter reckoned, was the spear he had embedded in its back. To his credit, he had no idea the thrown spear would actually hit the lizard. He had seen the lizard crawling towards a pipe, his stomach had rumbled, and so he threw his spear in its general direction. Hunter had been quite surprised when his spear pierced the creature, while the lizard had mostly just been angry. The lizard snarled again, glaring at him. With a sigh, Hunter took his second spear off his back. He twirled it around in his left paw while picking up a solid piece of rubble with his right. Standing straight, Hunter scowled at the lizard, baring his teeth. The lizard hissed loudly as it barreled towards him. Hunter stood his ground, winding back his right arm and crouching down slightly. Though the lizard was slow, its main strengths were its powerful jaws and its strong hind legs. The green lizards were easy to underestimate, but Hunter had seen a green lizard stand their ground against a red one before. Just the thought of fighting a red lizard made Hunter shudder in fear, but the lizard felt no fear facing down the apex predator. Coming back to reality, he noticed the lizard was now startlingly close with its jaws open. Hunter threw the rubble as hard as he could at his opponent's head. The rubble bounced off the lizard's head as it flipped over, temporarily dazed. Hunter took the opportunity to throw his spear into the green lizard's soft underside. The lizard screeched and writhed, trying to flip back over. Right as it managed to find its footing, Hunter had already pulled out the spear and stabbed it again. With a hiss, it desperately whirled around and started biting blindly. Seeing this coming, Hunter spun around and backflipped into the air to avoid the sharp jaws. After taking a short moment to aim, he threw his spear straight down at the creature. Before it could react, the lizard was pierced through the back and out of its stomach, pinning it to the floor. Hunter landed behind the pinned creature and took a second to catch his breath. The lizard, meanwhile, kept writhing and biting the air. With a sigh, Hunter pulled the second spear out of the creature's back and stabbed the lizard several times until it stopped moving. Once he was sure it was dead, he stored the spear on his back and crouched down to feast. He bit down into the flesh on its side and tore a piece out, chewing and swallowing with a satisfied gulp. Lizard meat was tough and chewy but quite tasty. Not to mention, one lizard was enough to keep Hunter full for a whole cycle. Hunter took another bite, savoring the warm blood running down his chin. After taking a few more bites and feeling satisfied, Hunter wiped the blood from his chin. His light red coloration did a good job of hiding the blood. Satisfied and no longer hungry, Hunter kept moving forward. The mission he was on was time-sensitive, and there was no time for distractions. He roamed through pipe after pipe, avoiding or killing all predators in his path. Eventually, he found himself outside. He looked up into the sky, past the metal platforms and protruding pieces of metal and rebar above him. The clouds were starting to gather together. It was about time to get to a shelter. Luckily, he remembered seeing one just a few pipes back. Just as Hunter turned around, however, his ear flicked as he heard a distant hiss. A hiss he'd heard so many times that it had ingrained itself into his memory, a lizard hiss. Out of instinct, he crouched low into a battle stance and raised his spear. The hiss had been a bit further away, but he didn't want to leave anything to chance. He'd seen lizards colored cyan that could propel themselves huge distances at ridiculous speeds, and he'd rather not be ambushed by one of those. After a small moment of waiting, he lowered his spear. It seemed the lizard was chasing something else, not him. He could just turn around and go to the shelter, but Hunter found his curiosity piqued. He grabbed hold of a nearby pole and hauled himself up to the tallest metal platform he could find. He then walked to the edge and looked downward. The lizard was right below him. It was a pink one, and its prey was a slug cat? Hunter squinted to get a better look. The slug cat was white, running terrified from the lizard, and clearly not healthy enough to handle a fight, judging by their shaky movements. The white slug cat was running around in a panic. avoiding the lizard's jaws instead of fighting back. Despite this, the slugcat rather impressively managed to stay away from the dangerous, sharp teeth. It was like he could predict the lizard's movements and act accordingly, allowing him to stay unhurt and alive in the struggle. Despite this, it was obvious to Hunter that the slugcat would not last much longer. They seemed to have no experience fighting lizards, and they were slowing down from exhaustion. Not to mention they were cornered with no nearby pipes to go through. Without outside help, they were about to die and wake up in their last shelter the next cycle. Normally, Hunter would have just turned around to find his shelter. There was no point in helping this stranger out, even if they were a fellow slugcat. They would just slow him down, and they would wake right back up anyway. It's not like death was the worst thing ever. Another part of Hunter disagreed. Dying was never a pleasant experience, and stranger or not, helping them out was the right thing to do. Hunter groaned at his own thoughts. He didn't have time for this. Grunting, he took a couple steps back from the edge to get a running start. With a shout, he sprinted to the ledge and leaped off his metal platform. The pink lizard paused in its tracks to look up, just in time to see a red blur approaching at very high speed. It didn't see much else as it was speared through its neck and throat, spasming for a short while before falling limp. Hunter straightened out and looked down at the lizard. All it took was one spear. He scoffed as he pulled the spear free from the dead creature. Good riddance. He sheathed it on his back and turned to look at the slugcat he'd just saved. The white slugcat's eyes were wide and still conveyed fear, but he also saw some other emotion. Something akin to awe perhaps? Hunter thought about saying something, maybe asking the slugcat if they were okay. But he decided against it. It was probably better to let them speak first. He didn't have a lot of experience when it came to social interactions. The white slugcat didn't seem to appreciate his scrutinizing gaze. They seemed really uncomfortable and nervous. Hunter guessed they hadn't seen one of their own kind in a very long time. It made sense. Not many slugcats stayed in this dangerous area filled with predators that could easily kill them without a second thought. Hunter started impatiently leaning from one paw to another, suppressing a groan. This was getting awkward. He knew it was a bad idea to get involved in this. Just turn around and walk off like a badass. No, that would be rude, wouldn't it? He didn't want to be rude, but he also didn't want to wait around in this area much longer. The rain would be coming soon, after all. Lost in his thoughts, Hunter almost didn't notice the other slugcat opening their mouth like they wanted to say something. He waited for them to continue, but when they made eye contact, they froze up. After looking at him for a moment, they looked away and started fidgeting with their paws. Hunter sighed. This was stupid. The other slugcat was clearly uncomfortable and not even interested in talking to him. He should just leave them alone and get to the shelter. Though just as he turned away, a familiar rumbling shook the ground.
Notes: here's a really quick update. They will not be coming out as frequently as this all the time because of personal responsibilities and stuff. Enjoy.